Chuck Shoot Podcast. We got another edition, another guest today, another, I guess what you'd call quote unquote hair band guy, Donnie Vie. He was in a band called Enuff Z'Nuff, which I'm going to talk to him about that name because I think that might have been why they did not become a bigger band. It was maybe because of that name. I know he doesn't like it, but they really were a great band, I thought. I think so. It's interesting. I think I'm trying to remember how I found them, and I don't know if people remember this. This is going to date me, but I actually got their CD way back in the day. It was back when they had the clearance CDs, and they actually used to cut like a piece of the CD out in the corner. And I don't know why they did. I guess that was the way to mark that it was a clearance thing. But there was like a little piece of the jewel case missing, and that meant it was, obviously on sale or clearance or whatever. So I think it was $5 or $6 or whatever, like, half the price of a CD. So, I've heard of this band. I'll check them out. And I think it was actually their second album called Strength. And I put it in, I popped it in. It was very, a little bit different than a lot of the music that I was listening to. I think at the time I was more into the heavier stuff like Metallica and stuff like that, Megadeth, Skid Row. But it was very poppy, kind of, I guess they were called glam rock, but it really had like more of a power pop feel to it. And I enjoyed it. And then later I got into their first album, and I was always kind of more of a casual fan of them. Occasional song here or there, whatever. But they actually came to Arizona in like 2012, and they played at this little tiny place called Martini Ranch, which was really just a bar. But they were playing on like a Sunday night, and I think it was like $10 or $20, something very cheap. And I thought, well, I like these guys. Like, this would be kind of a cool concert to see this up and close, this for such a good price. It's such a small venue. So I went out there. It was a Sunday night. It was not very packed. So I basically had a private show, but they killed it. They went on stage and they played a bunch of songs that I didn't know. And then I later went back and got those songs and downloaded them because I was like, this is a really good song. How have I never heard the song before? And so I think that's kind of when I became a little bit of a bigger fan of theirs. And then Donnie, the singer who I'm going to interview today, he actually ended up leaving the band shortly after that and did some solo stuff. I think he was technically maybe still in the band for recording, but not necessarily for touring. He had some issues, which we will talk about today. We'll get into. The guy's really led a fascinating life. If you listen, hopefully he'll talk about all that today. But even if you just do your own research about all the things that he's been through, and I'm going to try to bring up as many of them as I can. He's led a fascinating life. He's a fascinating guy, in my opinion. I think he's funny. He's interesting. And I think he's really a brilliant songwriter. His new album called Beautiful Things is out, and I'm actually listening to the full album. I know we're living in the days of the single, and I downloaded the first song. I was like, oh, this is a really good song. I like this. And I thought, okay, I'll download one more. So I downloaded the second song. And I was like, I really like the second song. So then I was like, all right, for whatever, $6 or $7, you can complete the album on iTunes. So I thought, okay, yeah, just complete the whole thing. It's like 10 songs. And I've just been listening to it nonstop. Really good stuff if you like melodic rock. It's not even really, I wouldn't even know if I'd call it hard rock. It's really just melodic kind of pop rock. Similar to the Beatles, definitely very Beatles influenced, but with more of a modern take, I guess you'd say. But yeah, just 70s rock, I guess you would say. But I really like its catchy tunes. So check it out. So he'll be on shortly. Also possibly having a comedian on this week as well. So look out for that episode. I've got a couple other episodes in the can. Keith Douglas from Tora was on last time. And then an episode before that, we had Marcus Scott from Trickster. And also have a comedian, Anthony Davis, was on, so you can check out those episodes. And also always check us out on the Chuck and Josh podcast. That we've got 50 episodes, and we've had comedians on there like Justin Ruppel. We've had a few guests on there, so check out those episodes. And so without further ado, I think we're going to just go ahead and get Donnie on the phone here. So if everyone just hangs on, and I'll see if we can get him on here. Please welcome Donnie Vie. Donnie, how you doing? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. One more time. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Okay, sorry. Technical difficulties. We're back. How you doing?
Pretty good for my age. How about yourself?
Exactly. Same thing. Yeah, good for my age. So I want to talk about I want to talk about your new album, Beautiful Things, which I think is brilliant. But before we do that, before we get to the fun stuff, I do want to talk about all the shit that you've been through, because I'm reading up on you and you've really had a fascinating life. And I want people to really understand, who you are, where you came from, and kind of how you got to that point of having this, really, I think you're at your peak right now. So can we start at the beginning? You grew up on Blue Island, which is a middle-class Chicago suburb. And you're quoted as saying that you had kind of a rough childhood. So what point did music become a part of your life in terms of like listening to it and playing it?
Like you said, I had a pretty abusive childhood, and I kind of lived in my own head and in my own world. And when I heard when I heard Ticket to Ride, it was at a little 45. It just, that melody hooked me. I think I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I just followed that, and I got 2 other 45s. That Please Please Me, and the other one of what was it, Yesterday, and whatever, and I think Revolution, or whatever song was on the flip side of Yesterday. And that was it, man. I started studying that shit like a professor, and listening to every like nuance and every harmony and all the ways that they would transition their melodies and chords and into different, and from verses into choruses, and just that whole way. I mean, I really believe that studying the Beatles is the best way to learn how to construct a proper song. It's I categorize a proper song as if you could sit there with an acoustic guitar and play the song.
Exactly.
There's a lot of shit.
Right.
You really can't do that,
Not overly produced stuff that you're hearing today. So you started playing instruments, and then you ended up joining Enuff Z'Nuff in 1984. Now you said you're kind of quoted as saying you didn't like the name Enuff Z'Nuff. Do you guys think, do you think that you guys would have had more success maybe with a different name? Do you think that was part of the problem?
Who knows? I mean, would you have had more success if you had a different name?
Possibly.
I don't know how to answer that one. I always thought it was a bit hokey, and like the lettering and stuff with the Flintstone type lettering. I mean, I thought that was all pretty hokey, but I was the young kid. I was the little man on the totem pole. I don't know how I stayed that, being the writer and the singer, but that kind of happened. And when Chip and I originally put the band together, we started out playing with these other guys, and they actually thought of the name. We just kind of took it with us.
So wait, was this the guy?
It was spelled differently.
Yeah, it was spelled differently, right? So I read an interview, and you said something that I'm sorry, I don't want to get you in trouble, because like this probably isn't the nicest thing, but I did laugh when I read it. That you said
you can ask me anything you want.
Okay, because this was hilarious. I was reading the Rolling Stone interview, and you said one of the original guys had a big Nerf ball nose, and then the other guy was fat. So we dress him up as a priest, a clown, or a lobster, Santa Claus for Christmas. Are there pictures of this anywhere? I mean, I just laughed looking at that image. Are these the people that named the band?
There isn't. No, they're not the guys that named the band. They were the first drummer and guitar player. We do have a picture of the guy dressed as a priest, but it's the closest thing that he would take a picture in. Okay. He'd show up to the shows with like his little hair is spiked up with a little hairy head, and like his suit jacket with the sleeves rolled up and stuff. We're like,
Gotcha.
Nah.
Because
today you're a dice.
Gotcha. So then the song Fingers on It, that got some recognition because it was on the Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer soundtrack in 1986. So how did that come about? And that must have been exciting to see your song in a movie?
Well, the original drummer in that first Enuff Z'Nuff thing, he was getting into making movies and things like that with John McNaughton, and that's where they started out. That was their first movie with Henry. Then they went on to Mad Dog and Glory and this and that. Okay. They took off from there and ended up hooking up with Jonathan Demme and stuff like that. So that was our hookup to the first thing. I can't say that I was overly excited about it, because we had more going on with the local radio countdown and stuff that was happening in Chicago, and as soon as we we put up Catholic Girls. It went to #1. It just stayed there till God knows how long. And so that's kind of where our focus was. You know, the movie, that kind of came later, and you know, it was cool. You know, there's been a few things in some other movies since then, but it was cool. You know.
Yeah. So then you kind of had to hit the clubs for another 3 years, and then finally in 1989, you guys released your self-titled debut. You had 2 songs, Fly High Michelle, A New Thing, that were all over radio and MTV. You had a tour with LA Guns. I mean, that must have been exciting for you after playing the clubs for so many years. But look, things that I've read, it sounds like you were not very happy. It sounds like to me basically because lack of creative control.
Well, we actually didn't play the clubs that long. I hooked up with Chip, I do believe, in 1985. And I think I was 18 or 19 or something like that. And he was, you know, he's a few years older. And we really only played, like our very first show, because of that countdown thing and everything, was jam-packed. Everything we've ever played since then has been jam-packed. It's so it wasn't that long. We hooked up with a manager that was kind of, you know, he had money and stuff like that, but he was out to take advantage. But, you know, we started Rolls Royce limoing around, and, you know, Derek, he kind of consolidated us with Derek Frigo. We took Vic Fox after just seeing a picture of him, didn't even know if he could play. And we put that together, and that got a deal right away. Gotcha.
So, and then in 1991, you released the Strength album, which also had a couple singles, Mother's Eyes, Baby Loves You. You did another tour with Nelson, and Rolling Stone said you were the hot new band of the year. You got all these rave reviews. I read that Robert Plant said that he loved it. He thought it was a perfect combination of pop music and metal. But you later remade this album as Extra Strength. Were you just not happy with the original production at the time?
No, it's, you know, when you get back to Palookaville, and I wasn't, you know, I had to leave the band for a while in 2001 just to, you know, I was too strung out and too unhealthy. So I took a few years off, and that was just one of the things that I did. And, you know, I just did an acoustic version of it. And I thought, you know, that would be interesting, and just to show how they originally were written and how the songs came to be. And, you know, just did that. And I thought Extra Strength was just a bonus, where I thought Extra Strength, that sounds good.
Yeah, I like that title. Yeah. So, and then
I also did my first solo record around that time too.
Okay. Yeah. And then I think it was around this point in 91, 92, at the height of your popularity, you guys were on David Letterman, Howard Stern. And Stern is obviously a huge fan. He wrote the liner notes for one of your CDs, and he was known to jam with you guys and do Wild Thing. And he even talked about your new record recently. So can you tell me more about what it's like to be friends with Howard Stern? Because he's kind of said on air that people would be disappointed hanging out with him, that he's actually really boring in real life.
No, he's actually, Howard is, you know, he's always said he gets to be himself when he's on the radio, and then you have to be reserved like everybody else, like in private. But Howard was, you know, we used to go to Howard's house. We'd have dinner with him and his wife and the kids, and he even offered to lend me his pool house to do some demoing and recording and stuff. So we were pretty good friends, you know, and like he had us do all the little house parties and birthday parties and, you know, all the things like that, the thing on the street and stuff. And then once the band disbanded, you know, I kind of lost contact with most of our contacts, because Chip usually took care of that once we lost our management. Once we got rid of management,
sure,
Chip would take care of all of that stuff, and he had it together. I didn't have it together. He kept the numbers, and so he's been on there a bunch of times since, but questionable his appearances of how they went. You know, it's I think he could have thought more about music instead of his dick. You know, and so, you know, I've been contacting. I just sent the record to Howard and Gary, you know, a few weeks ago, and you know, I didn't say anything. I didn't ask to be booked on or anything like that. I just said, you know, Howard's always been a fan. Gary, you've been a fan. Here's what I'm doing now, and I hope you guys like it. Just check it out, and then we'll take it from there. So, I had heard that Howard the other day had mentioned that he's listening to it, and so that I know if he's listening to it, he likes it.
Oh, very cool, very cool. So
we'll see from there. Yeah, he's a great, very sweet guy.
Yeah. So then in '93, you guys released The Animals with Human Intelligence, which I really like that album. It got, again, rave reviews. It's got some good songs, Superstitious, Right by Your Side, Innocence. And then you ended up touring with a lot of big bands, Poison, Firehouse, Def Leppard, Damn Yankees, et cetera, et cetera. But of course, rock was going through a big change at this time. So how do you think the music scene affected you at that point?
Well, what affected us more was that when the labels all started imploding and reassigning themselves to different conglomerations like Sony and all of those things, they started, like our label kind of got grabbed and put into, I think they might have even shut it down, turned it into East West. And what was happening was we were kind of our president's golden goose at that time because we were doing really well and he was doing well, and it was kind of a political thing to take us out to take him out. So
Gotcha.
we ended up finding ourselves going to sit on a shelf for 8 records, $12.6 million deal, and we're just going to sit on a shelf, which at that time didn't seem like a very good idea, but at this time, hats, I'll sit in a hat. I'll say whatever,
right.
Keep that money rolling in. But so we filed a bankruptcy to get a release from ACO Atlantic, and we stopped with a few different labels. John Kalogner at Geffen was one of them, and he wanted to sign the band, but his pitch was to break the band down to square one. And he said it'd be about a year before you guys are even to start ready to record a record. And we always think, we're ready now, And,
yeah.
And then Clive Davis, of course, he's got this other pitch where you guys are the best band, blah, 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 this and that. And, and little did I know then that his motives were for, the power ballads that I wrote. And, I kept getting a lot of hints about leaving the band and doing on my own. And I wasn't really hip to the hints, and nor did I want to leave my gang because I spent a lot of my life alone.
Right.
And so, and they didn't have any rock radio department. They didn't have anything in place, any network or anything like that. So when our management kind of butted heads with him and went a different direction than his ideas and his plan, he sort of lost his passion for the situation and just kind of threw out the singles out there, Right by Your Side and Innocence. Just threw them out there real quick, and that was about it. And they gave us a release and let us keep all our masters and everything for free. And then it was just
good.
indie, the indie world, and how that goes. That's a downward spiral.
So I know that you've recently done some storyteller type shows, and I wasn't able to attend any of those, but I know one story that I dug up. You got to tell me this story. So, and I think, I don't know if this was the first record or the second, but you guys were recording at the Royal Recorders recording studio in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And tell me if this is, I don't even know if this is true, but you decided to steal a horse and then you proceeded to take it through the Burger King drive-thru. Is that a true story?
Yeah. Unfortunately it is.
Did they serve you?
Unfortunately it is, but.
Because a lot of times they won't serve you if you try to walk through the drive-thru or ride a bicycle or I guess a horse. I mean,
well, management owned Royal Recorders, so we did our recording there, and like I said, they had money, and so we had apartments, we had cars, we had all this through the management, but we had yet to sign the guy's piece of shit contract, and so when he get heavy on us and start to shake us down, and we wouldn't sign the thing. All of a sudden, we're not staying at Americana anymore. We're in one, those huts, those hotels that are just little huts.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're in those without wheels, in the middle of nowhere, and so it just, I was taking a walk. I was going to hike it up to town, which was about 2 miles, and as soon as I came out of the driveway of the place, I walked about, 100 feet, and there's a horse. He's tied up to a hitch, and I'm like, well, poor little guy, just Like somebody must have left him here, you know. He's all tied up, he's saddled, everything.
Yeah.
I never rode a horse before. I never even rode a horse.
You never rode a horse? Oh my God.
I had a hitch. Yeah, I climbed up on there.
Was there at least a saddle on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was all saddled up. He was ready to go.
All ready to go,
There was stuff in. I didn't even check the saddlebags. There was tons of shit in there too. I just was like, giddy up. And yeah, he took off down the road, and next thing I saw was town. And yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? You know, I'd go through the drive-through. It was late.
Yeah.
You know, the indoor thing was closed, and the drive-through was open. So ka-clunk, ka-clunk, ka-clunk. Yeah, and I got a bunch of food for the band. I got the horse a few hamburgers.
Oh, that is hilarious.
He ate them. He ate them. But the funniest part was I brought him back to my little motel. So I didn't know what to do with him anymore, and I forgot where the hitch was.
Oh no!
And so I brought him back to the hotel, stuck him in my hut, put him in my room, and I think we went to a Bon Jovi concert at Alpine Valley that night. And we came back, and there was just this horse head sticking out of the side of the hut. It's just his head sticking out. He must have put his head through the wall.
Oh, geez.
And probably a mountain of shit the size of a 55-gallon garbage drum sitting behind his ass.
Oh my God!
And he's just sitting there looking at me like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
And so I let him go. I gave him to these chicks that were with me. Said, here, you guys, you want a horse? They took it. I think they got busted on him.
Oh boy.
They got arrested on him, so they got out of that one.
Was there any other crazy stories that stand out from that era in the late 80s, early 90s?
Well, the same town, Vic and I came out of a bar, and Vicky Fox, and there was an 18-wheeler truck that was parked. It stopped at the stoplight, and Vic and I said, let's get on the back of it, take a little ride. You know, so we hopped on the back of this truck, and it took a turn, and it started going and going and going. We didn't realize that that was Highway 50, and that fucker didn't end until it got on the highway, and we're hanging on there doing 60 miles an hour, like we showed them, and it was crazy. And we're beating on it and stuff. It's scared to death. It's pitch black, and it started to slow down a little bit for the on ramp to the highway, and so Vic thought he could just like put his feet on the ground and just kind of coast and skitch to a stop, and he did that, and I just seen sparks and shit flying as he's tumbling around in the street, and then it stops, and I just step off of it, you know. I'm like, what's up, man? You couldn't see our hands in front of our face, but some fan seen us get on the thing and followed us because he knew that thing didn't stop. And there's a lot of stories, man. The strip club, all of this shit, you know.
Yeah.
But there's just every day there's a story with that band. It was craziness, and everybody was a total character. So I wouldn't even know where to begin. So
then around 94, you guys, like you said, you parted ways with the label. And then through the 90s and the 2000s, you continued to release material and tour under Enuff Z'Nuff. I think you were kind of on and off with the band. You did some recording, then you didn't tour, then you kind of did tour. Was there a point during this time where you kind of felt like giving up on music, or did you ever consider playing in a cover band or doing something local and like a Chicago, like a tribute band or something like that, or just something to stay busy?
That was never an option for me. That's the kiss of death. You know, I've been asked to join other bands. I've been asked to produce and sing on other people's records and stuff. But what I do and my voice and everything is so unique, and you know, the character is so, you know, to myself and what I do. So it's just not very practical for that. And I wasn't going to do any top 40 or cover band shit, you know, as much as I do a little bit of a Beatles thing every now and then with my great friend Phil Angotti. He sings harmonies on the new record, and we sing the best Beatle harmonies you could have, you know. And the bass player on my record too sings, so we do these 3-part harmonies, and yeah, it's fantastic. And he's going to be in my live band too. Yeah. But that's the closest I've ever came to that, and I really won't sing on anybody's stuff, and I'll do background harmonies if I like it, you know. But a couple of guys yesterday sent me some stuff. I said, well, let me hear it. I never even responded to them when I heard that. I was like, yeah, negative.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't care how much money you're going to pay me, you know?
Yeah. So during this time, I think probably when you were in Enuff Z'Nuff, you were using drugs and stuff, but then this time you kind of really went through a more darker period of drug use where you were using cocaine, pills, heroin. You called it your medication. But then you actually got into crystal meth. And I wanted to ask about this just because I think people see this stuff on TV shows like Breaking Bad and they just think, oh, it's just crystal meth. It's no big deal. But I've heard that you only truly get high from the first time you do it. And then after that, you're kind of just doing it to feel normal. Or can you tell me like how you got mixed up in that and to explain to people like what that is like to do crystal meth?
That's the cocaine, the heroin, and the other stuff. That is the case. You do it the first time. You got, like if you have freebase, or you smoke crack, or you shoot up heroin, stuff like that. You really do only really get that first initial, like, oh my God, where you fall in love with the thing the very first time, and you do chase it. Crystal meth was just another. I've never been addicted to anything. I've been addicted to everything.
So you would just, you didn't have a preference. You would just take anything.
Well, no, I had preferences. I never liked acid.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like crystal meth was different. Whatever I stumble across, I try because I've always gravitated towards the mystery and the danger and stuff like that. And I don't know why, but I do, or I did. And that drug there, that one will trick you. Because you'll start on that stuff, and it's like cocaine without all of the tweakiness and all the geeking out and stuff like that, like driving, looking through the rearview mirror and all that shit. It's a whole different thing. And next thing you know, you start fixing things, you start getting all kinds of shit done, stuff like that. But then after it starts to, you stay up too long.
Oh.
I could stay up a couple of weeks on that shit,
Jeez.
and you get to a point where you're taking shit apart and you forget where you put the parts and stuff like that, and it turns into a big problem, and you start. I mean, the biggest part of the problem is what it does to your look.
Yeah.
Your look just goes to shit. And mine did. But I'm lucky. I look a lot better than I should for my age.
Yeah, you look good. But so one of the other things, one of life's biggest mysteries is what happens when we die. And my dad actually studied this near-death experience stuff. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about your near-death experiences. So I know that you had one where you almost drowned. And there was another one where you actually woke up in the morgue with a toe tag. Can you explain this morgue thing? Because I just don't understand. How did they not realize you were still alive? They put you in the morgue.
That's the magic question. I was kind of pissed off about that. I was like, good thing they weren't the days of sewing the pennies over your eyes and breaking your backbone, stuff like that, or autopsy. They were just putting the tag. That's what woke me up, is they were putting the tag on me. And you got the clothes on and stuff like that. So, it was off to the drawer for me. And I was, laying there as soon as my eyes opened, I was like, I seen the fluorescent lights. I seen something's crazy. I tried to just close my eyes again and recap. All right, what the fuck did I do? And I remember, last thing I remember was partying with a bunch of people and maybe a little too high of a dosage. It's like, yeah, give me that shit. I'm gonna go with a speedball or something like that. Next thing I ended up there, but that was a blank experience, like unlike the drowning. The drowning, I mean, I actually did drown. There was no near death with me. I go all the way, if I'm going to shoot my foot off, I don't fidget, man. I just blast that fucker right off, And so the drowning, if I could put the experience into other people's brains of what I experienced, it would change everyone's life so drastically. What happened, it changed everything for me. I lost my fear of death, which was not necessarily the best thing in the world, but I just.
Did you see the white light then? Do you see God, or you see heaven, or what is it?
Well, God is a figure of speech, and just like religions and stuff. A lot of that's was the original law, and when those things were written, they were written, by guys they were written by men, and also in the days when they're still carving things into the walls of caves and shit. So to take all that shit literal is ridiculous, and there's so many different religions. They all condemn each other for this and that. But back to what I'm saying was, no, I didn't see a God. I didn't go up. There was a sort of a lit. It was more of the layers of human man, which I believe now is all our bodies are capable of really doing is suffering in some manner. It's like everything, to every good feeling, to everything you have, there's the negative. There's you fall in love. There's the falling out of love. There's that the negative area, hot, cold, time, all of these things, age, hunger, all of this stuff are just ways of suffering. And these layers and hang-ups and all this stuff were peeling off of me one by one, and I was kind of going out, spreading into the air. And so I kind of got a grasp of that. I do believe that we are energy, and energy isn't born, and it's not capable of dying. It just reforms. And so that's kind of what I could take back from it, is that we were energy, and I was becoming one with connectivity to everything. Like when the world started, you had your plants and your animals and your water and your dirt, and everything worked in perfect harmony. Then comes man, who's the cancer of the earth, and starts, we got greed, and we have all of, mostly greed is the biggest problem that I think we have here. And,
so you weren't in pain at this point. It wasn't scary. It was like a,
dude, it was drowning. They say that's the best way to go. That is not. Drowning is when you take that first breath of water.
Yeah.
It's oh my God. It's like, not only is it terrifying, because when you take that, it's like I was in a paddle boat with some chick out in the golf course lagoon, and it was horseplay or whatever, and we got stuck in the weeds, and so I had leather pants on, a $500 shirt. I said, hey, you're gonna have to get in there and undo the weeds, and she couldn't hold her breath for more than about a second, so I had to take my clothes off, swim down there. I got it undone, and just as I did, she pedaled it, and it knocked me in the head, and I was like maybe 3 feet underwater, and with that knock became the instinctual take a breath, and then once you do take that breath of water, you no longer float, and you just go straight to the bottom. And I remember seeing the turtle and the beer can and all this and that, and then I seen myself, going up, and like I said, it kind of spread out and everything, and then I reached a point where I started getting sucked back like a vacuum, and everything started, turning back to what it is. And I was never, ever so heartbroken as when I woke up back on the side of that lagoon, naked, getting CPR from some black EM, emergency dude.
Wow.
And it's like, this is right back to so much hard reality,
Yeah.
And, there's things like that. It's been a couple other times I do believe my heart has stopped, but
wow,
those
that's
days
fascinating stuff.
Hopefully in the past,
Yeah.
I've never shot a gun or anything like that, so I don't fuck around.
Yeah. So you're clean and sober for over 5 years. I'm assuming that it is still difficult to stay clean after all this time, or is there any temptation, or do you feel like you're totally past all that stuff at this point?
If you're me and you're in my position, or you know anything about me, you'll know how long that went on. And it got lonely right away in the beginning. It started out as like a crutch to go from insecure kid to right to center stage, the microphone, lead vocals. And so it took a little bit of, kind of induced encouragement to get myself there. And once I was there, I was okay. But it took on a life of its own, and it got so lonely, and it got so dark. And when you're high and you're partying, then you don't think about any of that shit.
Right.
You don't care, But what goes up must come down. And then there's every day, there's the morning, you know, and stuff when you wake up nailed in a sauna somewhere. They make you sweat it out until you give you more shit. But then there's you know, that, I don't know if you've ever partied, but that feeling the next day of, oh God, what did I do? And you're running, trying to do play by play. Did I say what I do?
I hate that feeling.
And you're broke and everybody hates you today. And, you know, so picture that for about 35 years. And it just got to be, too much, you know. Rehabs didn't work. Meetings didn't work. None of that worked. The only thing that worked was my, when something just triggered in me and said that this is fucking disgusting. You know, and I used to look at a line, or I used to look at this, or I look at that, and I'd be like, you know, even if I had, I was apprehensive, I'd still indulge, you know, and it would just, it's always the exact same result. Although I did write a lot of great songs, you know, I mean, a bad girlfriend and a lot of drugs and a shitty girlfriend is the chemical makeup for great tunes, you know, but you know, it's, what comes along with that is it's just too damn dark. And now it's just, if I see drugs or anything like that, or, you know, anything like that, something like cigarettes, you know, occasional glass of red wine, not very often. You know, and I have really bad anxiety, and I refuse to take any more medication like that, because it's a chain. You're chained still to something, and if you don't have it, you're fucked, you know. And so, you know, like I said, so I see that stuff now, and all I see is the darkness, you know. Even my good memories, and follow one memory over to a dark one, you know what I mean? So no, it's like that was the only way it was ever gonna happen for me. But I really pray for the desperate souls out there that are going through this, and sometimes you just have to just take such a beating before you get to this point. And a lot of people, you know, they'll go to these meetings, they end up being addicts to these meetings and stuff, and you know, it's one addiction to the other. And all I would do in those is play Angry Birds and watch the clock to get the fuck out of there, you know.
Right. So that didn't work for you, but you found a way.
Yeah, I tell my stories in there, and they're eating popcorn, you know. They call me what was it, glorifying and shit like that. That was just my life, you know. And it's not a lot of people in those meetings can ever relate. So I was like, you know, this is for the birds, but it is a good program, and I do recommend it for somebody who's not me. And but yeah, I mean, if I can do it, that's the one thing I want people to know. If I, Donnie Vie, can fucking clean up his act and find some light at the end of the tunnel, anybody can. There's just no way possible that anybody else can. And when the way things snowball out of control in a bad way, when your life goes down that, it sort of starts snowballing back up and over the other side to a sunnier side, and you're snowballing better things. And before you know it, you've got like, wow, look at all this stuff that's changed in such a really short period of time compared to how long it takes to get all fucked up. You know, it seems time seems to drag. You know, when a year seems to drag, but a year is not very long compared to 35.
Right.
You know, and it's unpleasant, it's uncomfortable, but you know, it's you just have to make up your mind of do I want to live my life in sorrow and despair and lose all my family and all my friends and everything that I come in contact with, drive it away, and just be, if the worst part is just be that lonely and just that suicide. I mean, I spent all those years just wishing I was not alive, you know. And so if I could do it, anybody can do it. And it takes a little bit of work. It takes a lot more work to go chasing down them drugs and goose chasing to find your shit when the dealer's closed and you can't find them and you're over in a crack neighborhood with guns at your head. That takes way more work.
Yeah.
that
So
takes so much more work than actually getting it together.
absolutely. So now you got it together. You've put out, I'm not just blowing smoke. It really is a brilliant album. And so this is the fun part. I want to talk about this. You get sober, you write this beautiful new album. The thing is getting rave reviews. Even the Stevie Rochelle guy from Metal Sludge who slams you, he says the record is that you're a brilliant songwriter. Even he's trying to slam you, he's giving you a compliment. So I want to give you, and also want to give you props for continuing to give your fans what they paid for, despite this whole Pledge Music thing going bankrupt. I read that you and your sister were putting the orders together yourself out of your own pocket. So awesome for that. And then you were saying,
we're about 30K in the red on that right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, hopefully we'll get some more people to discover you and your music after listening to this interview. But you were saying at one point you had writer's block with the songwriting. And so kind of going back to what we were saying about the drugs and alcohol, using that to numb the pain. I think that maybe sometimes you numb it too much. And then when you stopped, and then I think all the emotions started coming back to the surface, not just the pain, but the happy emotions. And I think two of my favorite songs are Beautiful Things and Whatever. Like Beautiful Things just seems like you're just loving life, and Whatever kind of seems like you were just saying like, fuck it, I don't give a shit about all this BS in the world. I'm just going to be happy anyways. Did I catch those themes right in those songs?
Well, what actually happened is, all right, first of all, I've written and sang all those Enuff Z'Nuff records, whether I was in the band or not. Those are all the lead. I'm the lead vocalist. I'm the writer, main writer, and everything. And so, I never had ever had a time where I didn't have a million ideas going through my head, because they're not. I don't feel that they're my ideas. I feel that they come from somewhere else, and it's my job to follow the song and let it tell me where it wants to go, which I always do. And that's where the melodies and the lyrics and the way they put together, how they go. Everybody says, oh, Donnie, he's so talented, this and that, but he's just fuck up. But it's not necessarily all talent. It was a lot of work, and it's a lot of God or something sending. A buffoon like me is not going to think of all those ideas on my own.
I noticed you call yourself a buffoon a lot. What? You've been on David Letterman and Howard Stern.
It walks like a duck. But what happened was, I think I prayed a lot for some help, and I prayed to God and said, this is it for me. I said, do something about this or take me out. I can't deal with this anymore. And just a day later, I got arrested for an old warrant. And that started a period of recovery for me, which I already was in the mindset of that. I just couldn't afford that up. We can't always afford that time and that luxury of being able to make it our world small and just focus on ourselves,
right?
And, without anybody else. And that gave me that opportunity.
Because then you ended up billing it all to Michigan, right? You got your teeth fixed, and you got all these like
hepatitis C.
Yeah, everything's
teeth,
fixed.
You name it, man. I cost them $500,000 in like a year. So that'll teach those hillbillies.
Yeah.
Go grab and kidnapping some rock dude again,
But that kind of saved you too, and
Yeah, my spirit. I believe that my spirit left my body for a while. It was time to rebuild the body, and my spirit and my energy and that connection I had with that antenna, wherever that was coming from, decided, all right, it's like a battered wife, just decided it's time to get the fuck out of here. And once I was ready again, once I felt confident and comfortable again, said, and was questioning, is this going to turn back on? Am I still going to do this? They came so often and so in such quantity, and now there's nothing. And like 2 days later, it came, I Could Save the World, and a day after that came Breaking Me Down. The day after that came Fly, Beautiful Things, and I'll Surrender came in one day. It was like, bam, bam, bam. I'm like, looks like we're back in business.
Yeah, very much.
And they were all very positive. They were all very positive as opposed to dark, like most of them were. As I always wrote, what I was feeling. Emotion is where songwriting comes from, and despair is a heavy emotion.
Sure.
And so I would always try to write these songs in hopes of, there's somebody out there that I can reach to say, hey, listen, this is terrible. This is unbelievable. Do you feel it too? Is there anything I can say to help you? And that's always been my main objective. It's not money. It's not superstardom or anything like that. It's just, I really believe in, I really am kind at heart and
Absolutely,
and compassionate and I feel connected to the world. And that's why I stay out of politics and religion and stuff like that, because I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, me too.
Nobody can do a fucking thing about any of that anymore.
It's not positive. So
far gone. Yeah. So,
but I love the songwriting and also the production on this album is it Mike Tholen? Is that his name on the album? Is he the producer, right?
Mike Tholen.
Yeah, it doesn't sound cheaply produced. I mean, it sounds high quality. In the first single, the one you mentioned, I Could Save the World. I love the lyrics, the hook. It's just a great song. And I know I'm going to sound really dumb on this part, but there's one part that you do. It almost sounds kind of like a circus type of flute. I don't know if that was, I know the Jellyfish guy did the keyboards. Is that the keyboards or is that a flute? It's just it really is brilliant how you've arranged all these different pieces to it and then how it just ends so abruptly. I love that ending part. But what is that flute? Is that a flute? Am I crazy?
That's the meat. They call it the meat whistle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's so awesome how you put that in with the strings and the. Were you the one that kind of came up with all the arrangements?
Yeah, I mean, if you heard the demos, which I demoed out every song first, I always do. They sound pretty much like the songs do. It's just a lesser quality, and
sure.
We used the blueprints of those demos to record the actual real versions. And like the drummers that would come in, that would be like, well, do your thing, And they're like, I like what you did, and so, all right, well, just polish that. And that's what they would do. I got some great guy, Matt Walker and Ed Breckenfeld did the drums and, just everything. It's Mike Tholen is a genius. He's better at what he does than I am at what I do. And that's pretty good. And it wasn't necessarily always the biggest studio. We did a lot of it in his home studio. He had the good gear and everything. And he's a genius. And some of it was in California. Some of it was in Doug McBride's, I don't forget the name of his Gravity Studios in Chicago. And, it was a little mishmash of everything. And, it cost some money to do it, but it didn't cost that much in comparison to the end result, which far exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, I love the whole album. Like I said, I think it's we're kind of living in the days of the single, but I got the first single and I was like, oh, I like this. I'll get the second one. Then I got the second song, and then I was like, I'm just going to complete the album on iTunes. I bought the whole thing, and I've just been listening to it. No, I like every song. There's not a bad song on that. So, I did have another question though. I noticed it says repeatedly that you were nominated for a Grammy, but I could not find out what song were you nominated for a Grammy.
I've been nominated for a few. Enuff Z'Nuff, we got nominated on the Strength album.
Oh, okay.
There was another nomination. I do believe it was for I don't know, Innocence or something like that. Okay. And then this latest one was a song called Mrs. Vanderbilt, which was just kind of a weird little demo that I recorded out in England with a good friend, Baz Francis, and this other kid that mixed it up. And I was in jail when they went and released that. I happened to be in jail. And I said, they said, well, we're putting this out, and it's going to be on a little record. And I don't know how the hell my sister wheeled and dealed, and I don't know how because I'm a member of the Grammy Association, and she wasn't yet, but she would always log in as me on all these things, Facebook and that.
That's cool.
Make me look like a a douche. Like, why Donnie's gotten so nice.
Yeah.
And that, he's no tongue in cheek. There's no bitter humor or biting humor or any of that.
Because it was your sister.
Yeah. And then she got into the Grammy thing, and somehow I guess she entered that song, and I got but. I mean, what is being nominated for a Grammy worth when you're up against Beyonce and Bruno Mars and it's like, why even bother nominating me? So piece of shit, me from Blue Island,
Dude, no, you're awesome. I love you. Tell me about this too. I don't know if this is true. Did you try stand-up comedy one time? Can you tell me about that?
Negative. I think out in California, everybody's always like, you should be a comedian. You should be a comedian. You know,
Yeah.
I can't act. I can't. Everything that I say that's funny is you know, spontaneity.
Off the cuff.
Spontaneous
Yeah.
needs spontaneity. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so there was one time out in California, they had an open mic night, and we were pretty big at the time, and a couple other guys were there, DeMalls and Nelson and those guys, and they're all going up there playing a song and stuff. And I went up there, and I was hammered drunk, and everybody's expecting Fly on a show or something like that. I'm like, I didn't take the guitar or nothing. Like, what's going on? I go, hello, is this thing on? I started telling terrible jokes. Like,
Oh, God.
what's the difference between a pizza and a Jew? And all these things like that, you know, these terrible jokes. And I was getting booed off the stage. And that was the extent of my comedian career.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, you did make I know you don't remember this, you've said in other interviews, but you did make kind of a comedy spoof video, Rat on a Phone. And I don't want to stir the pot with you and Chip, because I know you guys are good right now. But I just got to ask
I don't
this.
give a fuck.
Okay.
I don't give a fuck.
But this was funny. So I noticed at the end of the video, it's kind of this like cartoon Chip. And at the end of the video, the guy's bald. And so I'm not going to, again, I don't want you to call out Chip or anything, but are there a lot of rock stars or quote unquote hair metal guys out there that are bald that wear wigs?
Well, you know, the Hair Nation tour, you know, comes through town without any hair. Nobody's got any hair.
Yeah.
How do they still call it that? You know, everybody's in each other's bands and this and that. It's a clusterfuck. And I jumped out of that clown car going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Chip and I, we love each other. And,
good.
And I had to weigh that out, the animosity that I have, because he's done some very, very sketchy things to me. And, you know, like just like trademarking Enuff Z'Nuff name and everything, where I can't use it for anything. Like I would give a fuck. I would use it if I ever wanted to. I'd use it. I don't give a shit. But it was in regards to him starting to release new stuff,
right?
As Enuff Z'Nuff, which wasn't Enuff Z'Nuff. That's not Enuff Z'Nuff. The shit he's putting out now, and it's like, I'm not knocking what he's doing. I'm not knocking his songwriting abilities. It's exactly what I would expect from Tip Z'Nuff. You know, is I would always take his ideas and I would, you know, formulate them and put them into well, first of all, I'd take the plagiarism out of there and just work my way through it. And that was a good writing combination. But, you know, he kind of got feeling overshadowed in that department and started getting desperation calls for desperate acts. Well, like I said, I weigh it out. I heard a couple of interviews I did and read one, and I was like, man, I sound like just a whiny bitch, and nobody wants to hear that. So I decided, do I love him more than I hate him? And I decided, yes, I do. So
good.
That was the end of that. And
awesome.
But, you know, I mean, as far as calling the shit Enuff Z'Nuff, you know, it would be great. His records would be great if it weren't for the 13, 14 predecessors.
Yeah. So. And then moving on to, I know you're passionate about the anti-bullying campaign. I always try to bring up like a charity on my podcast. So I know 2 of your cousins actually killed themselves due to bullying. So I'm so sorry to hear about that.
Man, you probably know I don't wear underpants. You know, you got Doug, you're fat.
I do, yeah. But I actually worked as a counselor in the schools for like 17 years. And one thing I can say about bullying is that you really got to treat all 3 parts. So because there's the bullies, the victims, but then the other part that people forget about is the bystanders. Because if with anti-bullying, if you're not, you know, teaching people and the bystanders how to step in and stick up for the kids who are being bullies and the victims, and I feel like, you know, nothing's really going to, you can try to treat the bullies, you can try to treat the victims, but you really got to treat the bystanders too, all 3 categories. So, but I think that's great that you're raising awareness to that.
Like the old joke, you know, instead of slap him, slap his mother. You know, when it's born, they slap my mother.
Right.
So
yeah.
It's like that. I believe it stems from lack of parenting. And nowadays, it's unbelievable how there's lack of parenting. Nobody plays outside.
Yeah.
You know, there's no spankings. There's no spankings. That's not child abuse. No spankings is child abuse. That's not the real world. The real world will kick your fucking ass out there. You know, and so all that stuff. And when bullying, when I started reading the statistics, and I flash a bunch of them at the end so people can actually see the ages. It's, you know, 1/3 of all youthful deaths today are due to suicide. One half of those are due to our bullying, you know, and so and there's not a whole lot of awareness. You don't see much in that department, and you know, so the song was made out of love, out of a bunch of people contributing. I was in the hospital and
the
stuff
Instant Karma, yeah, the Beatles song or the John Lennon.
Yeah, that's how that
great.
came together.
Yeah.
A week after I get out of the hospital, I'm on a pier in Lake Michigan playing grand piano.
That's a cool video.
Like that. It was like, yeah, it was cool.
Very cool.
We never pushed it really. We didn't push it really, and my PR chick went to go to some different charities with it. One of them asked, "Who is this artist?" And she told us, "Donnie Vie for Enuff Z'Nuff." No, we do not want him representing us. Last guy we want involved in. And so it's, you know, some of it's gone like that, but I don't give a fuck. You know, it is what it is. And that's, you can't stop me from caring, and you can't stop me from trying, and you just can't stop a tank.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, your pancreas liquefied, and which again, I was going to ask you about that too. Your pancreas didn't literally liquefy, right? I mean, that's just an expression that your pancreas crapped out and then.
What the doctor said was over half of it liquefied. I don't know what that means.
Wow.
And, you know, so I tried to drink it. Yeah, I figure that pancreas, if it's liquefied, I'm sure there's lots of goodies in that thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get a buzz from that sucker. No, but I was in for a month and a half and lost 43 pounds, which that might be a little in the spare tire side, but I didn't have 43 pounds to lose. Now my ass cheeks came back. They look like back pockets. They didn't go back.
I don't know how your stand-up didn't work. I think you're hilarious, but I mean, you've done it all. You've had songs on radio and MTV. You toured the world with some of the biggest rock bands, appearances on Stern and Letterman, Grammy nomination. You literally died and came back to life, and now you put out a brilliant album. So what's next? What does the future hold for Donnie Vie?
Well, the next step is obviously playing some shows with, you know, I've done the storyteller thing, and I've got a real good booking agent at M7. You know, I've signed with Decca Records, which is a buddy of mine, and so, you know, they all of them pretty much agree that the shows are going to need to be the live act. So I'm putting that together now. I've got some good cats, and I think the president of Decca wants to play keyboards in the band. And I said that'll work out to that. Then I could fire him if I get pissed off.
Nice, perfect.
Yeah, it's just you know, that's just that. I've already demoed out about I'm addicted now to writing and recording more songs. I got my home studio and stuff.
That's a great addiction. 28
new songs for the next record, and half of them are kind of heavy, and the other half are more in the pop vein of Beautiful Things. Yeah. And I'm covered, and they just keep happening. And I'm doing a couple other things just to keep my chops up and keep my voice in shape and stuff. Like I'm doing a thing called the St. Joe County Dope Wars, which we do is we cover a bunch of old standards, and then do my version of them, which is laid back and in the pocket versions, you know, with kind of a power pop version of these things. And it's pretty cool. And you know, it started out as just a favor for a buddy of mine who's a good friend that, you know, that his dream never came true. And so I try to make his dream come true, but he doesn't realize these dreams turn into nightmares. Wow. You know, so be careful what you wish for, buddy.
Guess so, yeah.
And now he's always checking the views every day and stuff. I said, dude, I'm checking the views. Yeah. You know, give it a month. Take a look and see where you're at. I mean, a watch clock is the slowest clock.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you ever get bored, you can always. I
have another interview coming up in like 5 minutes.
Okay, so, I'm gonna wrap it up. I was just gonna say, if you ever get bored and if you want to write my theme song, that'd be awesome if you want to do that. But I did want to thank you so much for coming on.
2,500.
Okay, I need to do a GoFundMe then for that.
2,500. Put it in my PayPal today. You'll get the song probably by the day after tomorrow, Friday.
Wow. Okay, I got to do a lot of Ubering or something to get that. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
I won't even need you there. I won't even need you there. You'll be unnecessary.
Awesome.
put your name and what your problem is.
Absolutely.
I'll write it up.
Very cool. Is there anything else you'd like to promote? Again, I want to tell people to go out and get your new album. It's a really great album. I really enjoy it. Is there anything else?
Let me light a cigarette here. Yeah. Just like I said again, what I do and all that's important to me are these fans and these people that have been with me for all these years, because they're like friends of mine. I've partied with every fan. I believe I've hit every single one of them. I might not remember your name or your face sometimes because they get old. Yeah. But that's why the album cover is what it is, because I just realized this record, what I do with this thing is for them, and so let's see what you think is beautiful, and it's all for the fans, and that's where my heart is, and I don't look at the mountain anymore, or the pot of gold at the end. I'm just kind of tasting the waves along the way, and getting rid of all this humility and the vanity and things like that, and just being myself, and I just love it. I wish everybody could find ways to just find compassion for for the world and things like that, and most of my fans do. They started out as the broken people, and lots of them have told me, you saved my life literally, or you were the soundtrack to my life, and this. If you save one human life, that's worth your whole career.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It really is. There's nothing, no price you can put on that, because the ripple effect is who else's life is affected by that person's life, and it ripples, and just if I can find a way to find content, and find my spirituality, and I just don't think anybody should really put any faith in different religions. I think you should put your faith in connectivity and just worrying about what's right and what's wrong, and then I think you're covered. And if I can do it, you can do it.
Absolutely.
If I can do it, you can do it. And if you can't, there's my Facebook Messenger, and I've spent a lot of time talking people through some things, and like, don't flood me. Don't flood me. I get I get 5,000 messages a day, so I have to go reading through them. Okay. Put some kind of flag on it, like help. Start off with help, help, or something like that. But like I saw yours.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. Again, I appreciate you being on the show.
I took one look at your picture. I said, this guy needs help.
Hey. Well, thank you for coming on again. I know it's a big step down doing like Eddie Trunk and stuff, but it's really awesome. Hopefully I hear you on Stern soon. That would be really cool if he had you on there.
There's nothing too small or too big when you do what I do, and when you're bigger than any other person on the face of the earth, then you've just lost the whole concept of everything. And and of course, thank you for thinking of me, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you ever get down to Arizona or the Southwest, I'll have to come see you perform. Even if you go to Vegas, I'll drive 5 hours. I don't care. So
I'm not a big fan of Arizona. I don't want to be anywhere where there's an oven setting to the temperature of the place.
Okay, well, I will drive as far as I can if you do get a tour up on and going and stuff. So awesome. Thank you again so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care,
Have
Donnie.
a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Wow, that was Donnie Vie, from formerly singer of Enuff Z'Nuff. Now he has a solo record out. Again, I know I've said this probably 20 times, but it really is a good record. I really do enjoy it. I think he's an interesting, fascinating guy. Brilliant songwriter. I really do think he's a brilliant songwriter. And I think that's rare nowadays. You hear a lot of songs on the radio, but a lot of it is it's electronically produced by 15 different people and whatnot. And, he's doing it on his own. And, he's got a little help with his production and such, but I think he's writing most of those songs are 100% written by him. So, check it out, especially if you like the Beatles and you like that kind of 70s power pop, melodic rock music. I think you'll really enjoy it. And I hope you enjoyed this interview. Again, you can always check out our other episodes, the Chuck Shoot podcast, also the Chuck and Josh podcast. We're on everything, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Rate us, review us, and thanks again for listening.